Hi, everybody, and welcome back. I am Danielle, better known as Danielle Happy Medium, and welcome back, YouTube. I hope you are all well over here. As I've said, I am Danielle, and in today's subject matter topic, we're going to be talking about psychic feelings versus mediumistic. If you're coming across this video for the first time, why not pop on over to my channel? It might be just what you're looking for in your development. If not, and you're already subscribed to the channel, thank you very much. Big loves to you. And I say that the psychic image one did very, very well. So I did promise more. So here it is. So today is all about the psychic feelings versus the mediumistic feelings. How do we know the difference, Danielle? How can we develop this, Danielle? What can we do, Danielle? And I'm gonna try my best to answer all them questions. So what is psychic feelings? What is mediumistic feelings? Psychic feelings are produced by you, your awareness, your understanding, your perception, your fears, your basically everything to do with you, from everything that makes you tick to your feelings to where you are in that moment to the fears, the anxieties, and everything else that you have. Mediumistic images should be a boot there. Mediumistic feelings come from the communicator, come from the loved ones on the other side, come from guides. They come from another extension of internal sort of or external intelligence. And that is basically, in a nutshell, the difference. The biggest question you're probably going to ask me is, how do you know the difference? So I'll give you a few of mine that work for me. I'm not saying that these are going to work for you. The idea is for you to take what knowledge I give you, work it through your awareness, and also work in the spirit world to enhance or to find your mechanics that will best suit you. How do I know the difference between a psychic feeling and a mediumistic feeling? One of the things that I've learned over the years, and I've done lots and lots of readings over the years, private and also platform work, if that feeling wasn't there when I moved my mind, then it belongs to the spirit world. So, for example, I might say, I'm going to move my mind to the spirit world and I'm going to connect to a loved one in the room, or connect to a loved one for you as a sitter. And when I move my mind and I start getting this terrible, terrible bad head, then that belongs to the communicator. It's not mine because it wasn't there beforehand. It's only become available to me once I've moved my mind. So that is one of the quickest and fastest ways to know the difference between whether it's a psychic feeling or whether it's a mediumistic feeling. If you haven't moved your mind, then everything that's coming in is a psychic feeling. And you might be thinking, but it's very simple. If you haven't, and I said this within the psychic image one, if you haven't moved your mind, you're still in the human world. You're still in that awareness. You're still in your psychic parameter. You haven't gone anywhere. You haven't done anything because you haven't put the intention, nor have you found your proper connection or your connection to the spirit world. So there has been no shift of alteration, shift of awareness, shift of anything. So ultimately, you're playing in the psychic parameter. And that isn't to trigger anybody or to make anybody sort of panic, but it has to be said, that if you're getting these feelings but you haven't actually gone anywhere or done anything, then they belong to you. And with the greatest of respect, you're adding that in and saying it's from spirit when really it's not. Another one that I tend to use when I'm determining the difference between a psychic feeling versus a mediumistic feeling, there's depth to them. So psychic feelings tend to fly in and fly away. Mediumistic feelings tend to stay until I've bled them off, or I've talked about them, or I've give them off. So, for example, I might get this pain in my chest, like a heart attack. But until I talk about that heart attack, the feeling stays. It doesn't really go away. It sort of lingers. Psychic images psychic feelings sort of just sort of come in and then go back out. They don't really stay long enough for me to really grab them or understand exactly what it is that they're trying to tell me. Mediumistic feelings will stay until eventually there is nothing left to talk about because it's been given to me by an intelligence. It has to be bled off or it has to be talked about in order for it to then dissipate or disappear altogether. So that's one of the ways that I tend to. Another one I tend to say this with psychic feelings versus mediumistic feelings. Mediumistic feelings will make you grow. So they'll make you sort of get taller, or you might feel a bit wider, or you might feel older than you actually are. So I tend to have this one a lot. I'll feel my body and I think, God, I feel 60 today. but actually I'm not. I'm obviously, as old as I am. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I am what I am. So like that's a surefire way that that's an intelligence that's coming from the spirit world. You won't get that from the psychic parameter. The psychic parameter doesn't have that kind of intelligence about it. It doesn't have that ability to be able to give you that kind of information. So psychic feelings are very what I would call dull. They're very sort of one way. They're not really giving me any more than they actually are. Mediumistic images, I will get that images. It's feelings, mediumistic feelings will come with a range of different things. So they'll stay until they're talked about. They'll make you more either width ways, tall ways, or in general you're just going to feel. One of the things I've also seen with mediumistic feelings is as if like my hand disappears, like it's there but it's not there, if you can understand that. That's more in trance, that I've got to be honest. It tends to be where like the intelligence has taken quite a big hold of my nervous system. They've taken quite a big hold of my mind, and so what happens is there's bits of me I'll feel like they've sort of faded away. If you can understand that, that probably is a little bit too complex. Apologies there if you, but if you do get it, then hats off to you too as well. So for me, psychic feelings are very fainted. There's very little to them. Another thing that you may find with psychic feelings, are very gritty. Talked about this on the channel many years ago. Psychic human energy tends to be a lot more gritty. So it's got a bit like if you put a bit of sandpaper on your hand and rub it across your hand, the human energy tends to have that grit about it, that sort of harshness, that sort of roughness about it. When you work with intelligence or feelings of intelligence, it tends to be fluent. Doesn't matter what level of consciousness they are, they have this nice flow about them. They have, as I've said before, it's like running a bit of silk through your hands. It's very sort of flowy, if I could say that to you. That's another way. Another one that I hear a lot, which you probably can understand this, and this is for you readers or those who are working on platforms, is where they'll come off a rostrum or they'll come away from a sitting and they'll feel quite drained. That's you've been working in the psychic parameter. When you work for spirit will never ever drain the instruments. There is no need for them. The only time you're going to feel a little flatter in energy is because you've been holding that connection for an hour and a half. But if you've just done one reading and feel absolutely flat as a pancake, circles are a good one for this as well. Then there has been quite a bit of substantial psychic feeling going on there, or psychic awareness. And that's one to watch out for. You may say, well, how do you stop that? You always work for spirit, because if this person's working psychically and you're working for spirit, the match is not correct. If you're working psychically and they're working psychically, it's a lifelike match. If they're working both spiritually, which is great, that's what we want, then there shouldn't be any problems at all. None whatsoever. So there's a few different techniques and terminologies. How do you develop this? Keeping an eye on the readings. So again, it's about documentation. It's about monitoring every reading you do, whether that be practice, whether that be in class, whether that be on a rostrum, whether it be private sitting, and looking at that work and looking at the way in which that work come in, and look at them feelings and think, right, I've had that a few times. What does that mean? Why does that keep coming like that? Another one is to talk to the guides. Ask them to support you in them areas. Excuse me, ask them to give you an idea of what a psychic feeling may feel like versus what a mediumistic feeling would feel like. A lot of people don't use guides for these reasons. I spent years and years, and still do, developing with the spirit world this way. They are the biggest teachers of all. They know exactly how that psychic feeling is, and they know exactly how that mediumistic feeling is as well. So it's about documentation in the human world, but also working with the guides in the spiritual world to get more of an understanding of your mechanics, an understanding of how them psychic feelings are coming versus the mediumistic feelings. Now, is it the same across the board for all communicators? More or less, give or take a handful here and here who might do it a little differently. But once you have these mechanics, they tend not to change. I've got to be honest. The only thing that may happen is they may deepen, and they may get they may have add-ons to them. So your basic mechanic will always be the same, but as time goes on, as you develop more of your mediumship, your feelings, your pictures, your words, such like things, you'll find that this will deepen more. This is where people talk to me about deepening evidence. That's exactly how you do it. It's nothing magical about it. It's about learning to understand the basics, and then what you do is you build on top of the basics, basically through time, energy, practice. What happens is you start to get a multifaceted layer of how much you can push a feeling versus an image or such like things. I could teach you all sorts over here. I love it. I love it. Anyway, getting back to the story and not going off on a tangent there. So, what is psychic images? Psychic images are coming from your awareness. You haven't moved the mind, therefore, that means that ultimately you're working in the psychic parameter. Mediumistic feelings are where you've moved the mind and you've connected to a guide or you've connected to a loved one. If you want to know the difference, talk to the guides, but also taking a look at your work on a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis and see what keeps flagging up all the time and then start and question that. So why is it doing that? What is it that, what is that feeling? Is it psychic? Is it mediumistic? You have to ask them questions to be able to understand them. Another one, you make sure that you are always working for spirit. That's probably the best thing I can say here within this one is making sure they work for spirit. Make sure that you look at the dullness. So if the feelings are coming in and going straight back out, if it's staying and it doesn't go off until you talk about when you're doing a communication, it's a mediumistic image. Check this one out. See how this one works for you. Thank you very much for waiting for me since last week because I didn't get on last week. I was busy with one thing and another. But you've got two this week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm spoiling you. So you've got this one on Tuesday and then you've got Lost Souls and Soul Rescue on Friday. The following week, I'll continue on with this series. So if there's anyone you want us to do, so whether it's Claire Cognelian or Claire Augustus or, any of these ones, let me know in the comments box and I'll get that one up for you there, all right? Have a beautiful week. I'll see you all Friday. Big kisses, big hugs. I mean, it's probably bye for now.